Hello everyone, Cryptoid here. So I thought about making another video. This is a random one. I hope I make it brief and short. I just wanted to use the opportunity of having this current price action on Sol to use in order to describe a couple of things that usually are very repetitive in corrections and how you can use them for possible re-entries and how to spot the next re-entry, or at least save yourself from FOMO buying a fake out in the correction. So what you can see here, and remember guys, you need to have watched the previous ones in order to be able to understand the description or explanation here. So if you have watched the previous ones, you would clearly see this full wave, which is consistent of a full move, which is consistent of a wave up, then wave down, and another one here. Okay. What you usually want when you want to long a correction is to buy when the wave is down is finished, and the best way to do this is to have the green curve being oversold, but at the time of making it's not as clear for sure as when you're looking backwards. Like here for example, this is very clear, but at the time of making, this one is simply another one that looks like this despite this stretching forwards. But now for example, we have had this green curve here being oversold and flat. Okay, so what I do here, the first time I get interested in looking at this one, or the first time this starts to get interesting for me, is when this first green highlight happens here. So this was there, and one thing you should have avoided would be the first fake out, which is this one. So this would have saved you from FOMO buying this one. Okay, so again guys, you want the green curve to be flattening down. You don't want to buy while the green curve is still moving downwards, in my opinion. You would want to either buy it while it's flat or while it's slightly curving upwards and having a local bottom. So again, looking at the MTF alone and without any further technical analysis, if you were to try to pinpoint the best entry, it would be while having the green curve either flat or slightly moving forward upwards, while having a local bottom on the lower time frame. So what is a local bottom on the lower time frames? For example, a local bottom is like this, or this, or this, or this. Okay, when they are simply converging and turning. Okay, when they're converging downwards, like here or here or here or here. But you wouldn't be interested in longing while they're making a wave up, okay, or making a top. So we would be looking at the green one being oversold for some time, while the blue and gray one converging and making a local bottom. So for example, the first one here, this was still very recent. I wouldn't be really interested in it. Usually I wait. That's the safer approach, and especially when you have these local tops going lower, know that you're probably gonna see a flattening. Okay, this is not what happened in the previous wave. So the previous wave correction was shorter. You simply had fake outs, but you didn't have this systematic tops getting lower. When you have this, usually you have a flattening like that, and when you have a flattening like that, don't jump in the first highlight. Look at the second or even the third one. And when we had this highlight here, the green highlight having all time frames being oversold, the first thing that happened is another fake out, and this was visible. You shouldn't have missed this one as a fake out. And even when this happened and they tried to reconverge here, it faked out again. Simply having the gray one above the blue one like that, and even if it's horizontal or whatever this shape is, it's a sign that you shouldn't enter. So many people, based on technical analysis, or at least let us call a simple technical analysis, would start to be tempted to enter here, and you would have noticed a lot of calls on Twitter to enter there, and we're about to break out. But when you're using the MTF here, you would simply stay away from this while having this fake out here, and you would know that probably we still need a convergence of the gray and blue before entering. The convergence does not necessarily happen at the bottom. It can happen while the blue one is being pulled up, but it has to happen, or they have to simply move closer to one another before I get interested in re-entering. So what happened, for example, to me yesterday before going to bed is that we were somewhere there, and at this point I knew that they were going to converge downwards from experience, because I have been watching this MTF for many months and patterns tend to repeat themselves. So I knew there was a chance of having a convergence downwards, and convergences, when they happen downwards, usually the first thing is you see is a quick dip or a sell-off. Okay, so for example, let's look at those. These formed a sell-off, even if briefly, but it's still a sell-off. And here you had a sell-off and the first convergence attempt, which was bought up. And so I expected a sell-off somewhere here. So the first thing I did is I looked for the next support, which was this one at 136, and I set overnight low bids at 136. I set them in spot, small position without stop loss, and I didn't really want to share this with the group, honestly guys, because I don't really like sharing entries without stop losses. We still have a couple of guys in the group that still get liquidated and still not apply proper risk management, so it's not really encouraging for me, for example, to come and share to you a simple entry without stop loss. So and this got filled overnight. Now it bounced a bit, so the first thing I look for after the bounce, now that I'm in a position, is to see whether the blue one got pulled or not, and it did get pulled. It's still not, they're still having some distance, but it's within the norm, because if you look at this one, for example, the blue one didn't move up almost at all, so it was much more visible than this one. What will happen here is one of two things. Either this is the bounce and you're gonna see a breakout here, or this is just another one that's simply gonna do this like that somehow and do a double bottom maybe and then bounce, or it's gonna go lower to this zone and make a bounce. So the next oversold is gonna give us a better entry than this one. It's one to look for. Again guys, maybe trade them in spot, not necessarily with margin. Couple them with the technical analysis. Like if you look here, this is the 0.55 level of this whole move up. I think Floki has an Odin zone here somewhere. You need to check in the group. Okay, I wouldn't FOMO buy this at all, either buy after the breakout or the next bottom. Okay, and if you look at the 3 hour, for example, you will see what I meant with the systematic divergence, or this pattern I mentioned here. You will see we were making higher highs on the price action while making lower highs on the green curve. Okay, everyone was lower than the one before it, so it was very visible that we're gonna get a flattening of the green curve. Okay, it's different from the one before, and it was indicative that the correction here was gonna be longer and bigger, and we did correct bigger than last time, because if you check the retracement, it was nearly 40% or 37% from the top, which is expected, and this is the language that actually expressed this to you. So Again guys, you need to have the MTF open on your charts for a lot of time to get used to the patterns that repeat themselves, because these patterns are not as obvious as other indicators because you have a lot going on here, so it's gonna take you more time to get used to the patterns that repeat themselves. So that's why I'm trying to pinpoint them for you to make it easier. Okay, so again, to use this one as an example of how we would re-enter, I simply saw the possibility of this doing a quick sell-off for a convergence on the 6 hour, and I simply looked at the time for the next lower support, strong support. So if this is gonna happen again, the next lower support would be in this range, or a double bottom, or at the top of the range. This range was determined by the fib levels and as well the confluence between this zone where this price where it bounced very strongly, and the top of this one and the top of that one. Okay, looking at the previous wave, another thing I wanted to show you is a couple of possible entries, one of which was this one. So you already saw that the green curve got oversold and started moving upwards, and then you had this clear fake out here. Okay, a better one was visible on the 3 hour. Okay, so on the 3 hour here you had this move up and the green one started selling off, even diverging here. So this was a higher high, while here it was a lower high, and you knew the wave is ending. The tricky part here is that the retracement was very small, very shallow retracement, but you could see here, for example, these fake outs, while it didn't really drop in price and they were converging while not dropping in price, and then having this oversold for the first time, then another fake out. So you would look for the convergences. So possible entries were here or there or there. Okay, at the best entry you had several indicators, and this is something I want to show you because you can use it next time. And as mentioned before, you had the green one slightly curving upwards while the price made a double bottom, so it's actually a bullish divergence. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you had a fake out upwards, and as I said, when you have a fake out upward, you need to wait for a convergence, which happened here. But here the convergence quickly turned into a reverse fake out, meaning that this fake out here simply made another reverse fake out. The gray curve simply cut the blue one and gave you a local bottom and then bounced up. So you would have simply entered here based on those two things, and you would have set your stop loss below this previous low conservatively like that, and this gave you a perfect re-entry, made like 200%, 210% afterwards. So I hope these were good examples. I'm gonna continue sharing those as much as I can, and if you have any questions, guys, just ask me in the chat, and trade safe during the weekend, guys. You know, the weekend's gonna be, it's always very tricky in the weekend, so trade safe, have your proper risk management in place. Okay, anyway, have a great evening, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.